John in Washington wants to talk about experiences that turn them away from skepticism, is what the call screening thing says. Also, big fat shout out to the masterfully awesome call screener, Keith. None of this would be happening without Keith. John, how are you?
And this call's yours, Kenneth. I've been hogging the mic.
All right, John. Maybe if you're there, maybe a good place to start would be with a definition of skepticism.
So for me, skepticism would be, I guess, I don't know if it's skepticism per se, but it's more of like non-believer. Like, so it deals with more with like the paranormal stuff.
Okay.
Growing up, I would hear my friends talk about, oh, I went to this haunted place and I saw this and that. I'm like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. I don't believe you, because my thing was, I've never seen anything, so I don't believe it, you know? But there was a couple of experiences I had. The main one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are in Illinois, right?
I am.
I'm not.
You are? Okay. So have you heard of Cumberland Cemetery down in Winona, Illinois?
I have heard of it.
So I grew up in a town called Magnolia, which is like, a couple miles away from there. And one night, I think I was like 18 or 19 or something like that. Some of my buddies were like, hey, let's go to Cumberland. Let's go ghost hunting. I'm like, whatever. I'm bored. I'll go do this. I don't care. I didn't really think anything was going to happen. So we drove there, pulled over, my truck, and made sure all my lights were off because we didn't want sheriff's deputies coming by and finding us or anything. Started walking through, and as we're walking through the cemetery,
listen, I swear to God, if you tell me that you saw that headless lady ghost, I'm going to lose my shit.
No, I've never seen that. I've heard of her, but I've never seen it. The one thing that there was one time that we went there, it was with a bunch of drunk friends, so that's why I attribute it mostly to is that they were drunk.
Okay.
But there was one part where we hit like a turn in the path, and it got cold all of a sudden. But it was also November, so I'm like, okay, maybe that's it. Whatever. I ain't gonna dive too deep into it.
Okay.
But this other time when I was with my couple of my friends, we're walking down the path, and I swear I started hearing like another set of footsteps, like in the gravel behind us, like crunching behind us. So I'm like, hey guys, stop moving. And I kept hearing this set of footsteps, and I'm like, guys, stop moving. And they're like, we're not moving. And that immediately freaked me out, because I'm like, nope, not doing this. I'm turning around. I'm getting out of here.
Okay.
That freaked me out immediately. Well, I turned around, and as I turned around, I saw the interior lights on my truck turn on.
Okay.
And I froze, and my buddies are like, what? I'm like, my lights are on. Why the hell my lights are on? And they're like, well, you probably hit your key fob. I'm like, it doesn't work. It never has worked. This key fob does not work. I have to use the key to unlock it. Why are my lights on? So that one was kind of like, it kind of got me, pushing more toward, I'm not as skeptical. But more recently, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I want to say it was a few months ago, or her great grandpa Richard died, and they were staying in his old house for a little bit. She wanted to stay with her grandma and everything. Well, I guess from what I was getting told, is that she came into the bedroom, to grandma's bedroom, and was like, hey grandma, there's someone standing in the kitchen. And so immediately they freaked out, rushed in there thinking there was like an intruder or something, and there was no one there. Well, the next night she saw it again. And they're like, well, who was it? It's like, what did he look like? It was an old man with a hat and glasses, and they pointed at a picture of, great grandpa Richard, and they're like, was it him? Just like, yeah. So I heard that, and I was like, kind of like, yeah, I don't know, maybe she was dreaming or something. Well, then it happened at my house. She wakes up in the middle of the night and goes, Dad, there's someone sitting in my room. I was like, what are you talking about? There's no one in your room. She goes, no, there's a black man in my room sitting there staring at my nightlight. I was like, no, you're dreaming. Well, then that next morning, even my youngest daughter was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. He was there. And I'm like, wait, both of them are seeing it now? Hold on. And I talked to my ex-wife about it, and I'm like, hey, yeah, apparently they're seeing stuff. I don't want to say spirits, but they're seeing stuff. She goes, oh yeah, she sees them. She sees them all the time. She's seen them here at my house too. I'm like, what the? Okay, so stuff like, I guess what got me was the fact that it was my kids having experiences. I'm like, okay, maybe something's out. Maybe there's something else out there. I don't know. So my position is more of, I can't prove that it's real, but I can't prove that it's not either.
Ooh,
Which
you just touched.
I think Ethan, you and me talked about it earlier. This is a great topic. Is can we actually prove that it's real or not? And I don't think we can, because every time I talk about the paranormal, they always talk about being in like another dimension or another realm or something. I'm like, well, how are we going to prove that?
Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, when is it time to believe something?
Right. And like it's difficult, because like different times I've had like I guess you can call it nightmares turning into like sleep paralysis, and it freaked me out. But I've people who are very, very, very into the paranormal will say like, oh, that was like a demon or it was a spirit or something, something paranormal that was messing with me. I'm like, or I had a lack of sleep because I'm active duty and I don't sleep that often. So there's like maybe that was like some kind of like, I think you guys were talking about before, like a hallucination or something that I was having. So, but at the same time, it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, well, what if they're right? I don't know.
Right. So I really want to focus on the question that I was asking you a minute ago. Have you ever heard of a guy named Bertrand Russell?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah. He was a philosopher, English guy, cool guy, and he had this concept, this idea of a teapot, right? So he said, suppose someone were to tell you that there was a teapot orbiting the space somewhere between Earth and Mars. Okay. Is it your job to prove that teapot does not exist before believing the claim? Or is it the person claiming the teapot's out there? Is it their job to prove that the teapot is there before you believe the claim?
So for me, I believe it's the person saying that the teapot is there, and they got to prove it to you, because I mean they're the ones making the claim.
I would 100% agree.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Well, and the thing is, like, it's probably an unfalsifiable claim. It's not the kind of claim that we can prove to be false. Okay, that doesn't mean that we can accept that it's true. The time to believe something is true is when it's been demonstrated to be true, when there's like a justification for that, when the claim's been verified to be true, right? So when a little kid tells me they saw something, I have options in how I respond to that. Okay, I can believe them. I can wait until I've got more evidence before believing them. I can, encourage them to be skeptical. You know what I mean? So for the examples that you used of a light being on your car, hearing footsteps, kids seeing things that don't appear to be there, that other people aren't seeing, I don't know what conclusions we can draw from those claims,
Exactly. And like with the when I was hearing the footsteps in the cemetery, at first it was I heard like rustling like in the grass or the leaves or something. So I'm thinking, oh, that's just a raccoon or something, maybe there's a deer walking through. But then like I said, when I started hearing the footsteps and they were almost matching like ours, then I think it was also like just the psyche of being in a supposed haunted cemetery. On top of hearing stuff that I can't explain or seeing stuff I can't explain, I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I told a previous caller.
Dealt with.
You just said can't explain.
What's that?
I'm going to tell you something I said to a caller earlier, because you just said can't explain. And you're now the third caller to use a variation of unexplainable as a concept, right? There's a big difference between you can't explain it and you don't have an explanation for it yet.
Exactly, and that's where I stand. Like I'm sure there is an explanation. I don't know what it is, but like I said, like I think it was that psyche of being in that creepy cemetery and hearing all that stuff and seeing it. I was like, no. Okay, I'm out. And then just talking with some of my friends, or they were saying like, oh, I seen this, I seen that. I'm like, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. So that's why I'm kind of like sitting in the middle of the whole paranormal, even the aliens, conversation. Like I kind of sit in the middle of it. It's like, well, I've never seen one, but then again, who's to say other people are lying? You never know.
I don't think you have to say people are lying to not be convinced by a claim. I talk to people all the time who believe stuff that they don't seem to have very much evidence for. I don't think those people are lying about their experiences. I think those people are hasty in jumping to conclusions about their experiences before they've got enough evidence. People overvalue certainty. We don't like I don't know. Most of us don't. Saying I don't know and just having this like unexplained thing out there makes us really uncomfortable. But sometimes that's the correct answer.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'd make one caveat to that.
There was a
make that caveat.
I actually watched on
real quick.
There was actually a series I watched on Hulu called like Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, and basically I watched the whole first season, and the only conclusion they came up to was, yeah, weird shit's happened, and we don't know what though. Now, it was a bunch of scientists trying to figure it out.
Thomas is caveating.
Seems to be the
So the caveat to people lying and assuming people aren't, kids are liars. Kids are the biggest. Kids are the biggest, fattest liars you will ever fucking meet.
Yeah,
and it's not this malicious thing. It's
they're just trying to figure shit out.
It's just that kids say things that they just kind of pull out of nowhere, and they'll say things just off the cuff, and you're like, where did the kid come up with this thing? And sometimes it's to get attention, sometimes it's another kid like, oh yeah, sure. But yeah, I agree with everything. First of all, Kenneth, you're like fucking phenomenal job on this, but like I just kids
say the darndest things.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
They definitely do. My kids drive me up the wall with the lies they come up with sometimes, like especially when it's like they got in trouble with something, and I'm like, what happened? And they tell me, I'm like, what really happened?
I
think okay, here's what really happened.
I was talking about this the other day on Talk Heathen, that we were talking about like anti-vaxxers, and I was saying that I don't get that mad at these people because I feel like our educational system has failed them at some point because they don't know how to evaluate claims. They're not practiced in skepticism. So with little kids, I just feel like and I don't have any kids, so I'll just put that out there. But I think that when I do, I want to encourage them to be skeptical as much as possible. If my kid's like, I saw Santa Claus, it'll be like, oh my gosh, I want to believe in Santa Claus. How can you show me that Santa Claus is a real thing? And let them work it out. Let them, so if your kid's like, hey, I saw, the guy again in my room, it could be an interesting opportunity to be like, okay, well, I want to see the guy. How do I see the guy? How do we explore this? How do we know the guy's, and give them that task of being little skeptics.
Mm.
Yeah, and like when they told me that, like my first thing, like because like I said, I still have some skepticism, so I'm not like a full-on believer and all that stuff. When they first told me about it, I walked into the room, looked around, I'm like, maybe they saw like one of their stuffed animals sitting on the ground or something. I don't know, because I had something like that happen when I was a kid. I fell asleep on the couch, woke up, thought I saw like a demon or something in the middle of the night, and come to find out, it was just my dad's boots sitting in the corner.
Yeah,
so
we've all been
like, plus.
And if nothing else,
just, shadows in the room playing tricks on them.
If nothing else, giving your kids the task of going and exploring the world just keeps them busy, and then dad can take a freaking nap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or get your kid a Polaroid camera or something, or just like a little handheld digital camera, or and just be like, hey, next time the guy's around, ask him to smile. Yeah. Take a picture of him.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Maybe if it is a shadow or something, they'll snap a picture and you'll flip the light on and be like, hey, look, it was the curtains. Like, now we know. Or maybe it turns out that it's some creepy neighbor that's crawled in through the window, and then you really want to worry because, like,
Oh God, I hope not, because I live on base. So.
Well, hey, listen. Thank you for your service and all you do, and thank you for the call. We do have one more caller to get to. But
all right,
yeah,
no problem. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah,
that was a really good call, Kenneth. I keep wanting to call you Leonard.
That's I've been called
and
worse.
I think it's because, like, for some reason, you vaguely remind me of another Leonard.
The other day on Doc Ethan, Johnny Angel called me Ethan, and I was like, oh my God, what?
I start with Leonard, and then I switch to Kenneth, and it ends out as Lenneth. So I apologize.
Either way, I respond to all of these things.